Hey howdy friends, MrAyrit here. Let's do a quick review, shall we? How about the Meze 109s? I've been seeing a lot of great things about these, so I was pretty happy when Meze asked if I wanted to review them and said they'd send me some. I'm getting them a little later than a lot of people, a little late to the ball game, but I'm glad I got a chance to. So the big question I had going into these was, are they as good as everyone's saying they are? And I think for the most part, yes. They're certainly, I think, priced right, great build, all that. We'll dive into all that. And of course, we'll get into sound and who this headphone maybe is for. So I've got an unboxing. I'm going to go ahead and jump into that, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about some of the accessories and stuff. Okay, so after you've seen it all open, right, we've got a nice case, we've got a couple of cables. The cables are okay. They're pretty rubbery and kind of like, springy, kind of hold their shape. They're nothing to write home about. I mean, I do think the hardware on them is pretty nice, honestly. But they're nothing to write home about. They got a little cable bag, all that stuff. It's all Meze, so, it's going to be done well, okay? And the headphones are the same way, right? It's a Meze. It's got that beautiful Meze design. The only real nitpick I have about build and design is I do think that these steel bands don't quite look as nice as like the rest of the headphone does. And then the other thing is I do feel like the clamp is just a little bit light for me personally. Now, if this was my set, I would probably bend them a little bit and take care of that. But since they're not, I'm not going to mess with them. But it's not like it caused a problem at all. I feel like I wish it was just like a fraction snugger on my head is all it comes down to. The pads I found to be extremely comfortable. They're nice and cushy, suede or microfiber type material. Just, when you're looking at the build, you've got all those nice little design accents that Meze is known for. These little bronze pieces, see the grills on the inside of the cups there. You've got the wood cups, you've got little, bronzy kind of like inserts, with the 3.5 millimeter jack ports. Which thank you for using 3.5 millimeter jacks. So really, there's not much to complain about here. I'm nitpicking when I'm talking about my little nitpicks with these. They're beautifully designed. So how do they sound? They sound really, really nice. I would say I was thinking about this because they kind of fit a weird niche for me because I feel like they're like a relaxed V shape. There's the bass extension on both ends is really, really good. Really, really good. And, the bass goes deep. It's got some punch. It's got some texture. It's feeling bass, right? Like it's not like over the top, but it kind of like feels, it's almost like room filling bass is kind of what I want to equate it to. So it's pleasant. It's quite pleasant and enjoyable. But where I really found this thing to excel was the top end. And there's a pretty substantial amount of detail on the top end, and it's not overbearing though. It doesn't, it's not grating on you. It's not too sharp or anything like that. I thought it was just, there was a really nice amount of extension and resolution on the upper end that I think most headphones don't do very well, and this one does really well for that. if it had a weak point in the sound, I would say it's the mid-range, which to me, I don't know if it's the fullness of the bass or all the sparkle up top, but for me, I feel like the mids kind of come off just a touch thin, and I mean just like a touch, right? Like it's nothing drastic. If I only listen to these for a while, it doesn't bother me. I think if this is your go-to headphone and you're listening to it all the time, I honestly don't think it's gonna matter. I think it sounds fantastic. But if I'm coming from something a little more full-bodied, like my Auteurs or even the Klipsch HP3, I found the mid-range just a little off, a little thin on this guy. But it's still quite good. The other thing that I would say is I'm not sure that these are like a great imaging headphone. They have a good amount of space to them. They feel big when you're listening to them, but I found it to be more of like an ethereal, kind of imaging rather than like a precision imaging type of a headphone, which both are enjoyable if they're done well, and I would say that it's done well here in the 109. So I don't have any gripes about that. The best thing about this headphone, though, is its portability. It's so easy to drive. Like, I spent most of my time listening to this either on the Cayin RU6, which sounded great. I used my X-Can a lot, and I'm also trying out the new Hifi Go Link, their little USB dongle, and I was using it, and it sounded great with all that stuff. What it didn't sound real great with was my transformer coupled tube amp. So I tried it on the Eddie Current ZDT Junior when I had it, didn't think it matched well, and it's just way too low impedance for the Quicksilver. So it didn't play well with tubes, I didn't think, which, is okay, because I don't feel like that's the type of headphone this is, and that's not the type of people this headphone is for, right? This headphone is for people that want a headphone that they can take with them and use off of portable devices, right? I mean, not that you're not good sitting at home with these and listening to them if you have them set up to something like I'm trying out the Matrix Mini I thing right now, and it worked great with those. I think it'd work great with a lot of solid state desktop equipment. It would be fine with, but just the tube stuff, it just didn't play well with, and that's okay, right? Because I like to use this when I was walking around the house, doing chores, doing things like that, sitting out on my deck, and I would just plug it into like the Go Link or the RU6 or the X-Can, and I was kind of like unbounded by, DACs and amps and all this stuff, and it just sounded good and was easy to listen to. So I think it's a big win for its price point, right? Like, I feel like I'm not sure exactly what these retail for. I probably should look that up, but somewhere around like $700 is what they retail for, $600, $700, $800. I see a lot of them on the used market now for about $650, $600, and I think at that price, if you consider you don't need to invest a ton into crazy DACs and amps and stuff like that, I think the value is really good for these. So yeah, I can definitely recommend these. I did think, just for my own personal preferences, I leaned a little. I went back and forth with the HP3s in these a little bit, and the HP3 is like a little more exciting, and I kind of, I like the HP3 for that reason. And then the Auteurs, I went back and forth with them, and it's a little more laid back, and I kind of like that for when I want laid back. This guy sits a little more in the middle. It's kind of like a hybrid between those guys. So if that sounds like it might fit you really well, then I think these are definitely worth a look. Okay, questions, comments, alternative opinions, all that stuff, drop those down below. Thanks to Meze for sending these out. I got to send them back to him, but, I'm glad I got a chance to try them out. Stay tuned. I'll have some more reviews for you in the future. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one.